folks. Welcome to
Vector calculus.
Let's jump right into vector subtraction. I'm going to give you two vectors, one in orange and one in green. And I want you to think about what it means to subtract these two vectors. Here's my first vector. Let's call it vector A. And here's my second vector. Let's call it vector B. Now here's the question. What does it mean to subtract vector A and B? In other words, what does vector A minus B look like? What would A minus B look like? We know it's going to also be an arrow. It's also going to be a vector. But what does it look like? Is it going to look like this? Is it going to look like a straight line? Is it going to be vertical? What does it look like? That's the main question. Now, when you're faced with a problem that you don't know, start with what you do know. Recall from the previous lecture where we learned how to do A plus B. All we had to do was take our vector B and shift it up. Shift it up right here. And how did we add vector A and B? Well, all we did really was take the tail of vector A, take where A started, and take where B ended, the head of B, and connect them. And this right here would be A plus B. This right here would be vector A plus B. So if that's A plus B, what would A minus B look like? Well, here's a way to think of it. If this is B, right? And this is also the same B, right? All I did was move it another place. What would minus B look like? Well, I can say that A minus B is the same thing as A plus negative B. And that gives you an idea. That tells me, this negative tells me, what does this negative mean? It means take B, but flip it. A minus sign, we really know that minus sign means switch the direction of B. And so now we can draw A minus B, right? We can draw A minus B, and A minus B would simply be what? It's going to be where A started and B ended. And it's going to simply look like that, A minus B. And hey, what do you know? That's it. That's all you got to do. That is vector subtraction. Here's another way of looking at vector subtraction. Here's another way. The different way is to use parallelograms, right? So once again, we're going to have our vector U, or rather, let's call it A this time, and we're going to have our vector V. Now, if I add vector A and B by shifting up my vector A, my vector B up here, all I have to do to find A plus B is start where A started, end where B ended, and that's vector A plus B. And you just found out how to do A minus B, right? But here's a different way. Now I'm going to start with my vector A, shift it over here, and hey, look, once again, you end up with a parallelogram. But check it out. The other diagonal, this other diagonal is going to be what? Is that going to be A minus B? Almost. What you have to figure out now is where the head of A minus B will go. We know A minus B will be in this direction, but where will its head be? Will its head be here or here? That's what we have to figure out. And here's a neat little way to figure that out. Okay, if you have A minus B, you can kind of take B over here, switch it in the opposite direction, and then find that A minus B will actually be going the other direction. So our head, the head of our vector will actually be this way. But nevertheless, you should know that A plus B and A minus B are two diagonals of the same parallelogram. So if you have a vector A, have a vector B, their sum is going to be one diagonal, their difference is going to be another diagonal, and that's beautiful. Now, let's end with a nice, neat little example of actually subtracting two vectors, okay? Let's do some numbers now. Okay, so let's say I have a vector A. Okay, I'll put some numbers in, right? So 2, 3. I have a vector B. Let's put some numbers in, whatever numbers you want, really. 5, 9, and let's add them. What's that gonna look like? Well, 2 plus 5 is gonna be 7. 3 plus 9 is gonna be 12. That's as easy as it gets. That's A plus B. And A minus B, as you might imagine, is not so different. Okay, once again, 2, 3 minus b, and b of course is going to be 5, 9. And so what's a minus b going to be? Well, 2 minus 5, negative 3. 3 minus 9, negative 6. And that's a minus b. That's it. That's a plus b, that's a minus b, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is vector subtraction. Thanks for watching this lecture, and we'll check you out next time.